Hi everyone, welcome to Better Inside, a channel where we share knowledge and explore comprehensive self-development through great books. This week, I'm thrilled to introduce a literary classic by American author Harper Lee. This novel has been translated into 40 languages, earned the Pulitzer Prize, and had a profound global influence. Even former President Obama publicly gifted 2 copies to his daughters, one of which was this very novel. Let's dive into a discussion about To Kill a Mockingbird, with the title, Walk in Someone Else's Shoes. In the American South, there's a saying, to kill a mockingbird is a sin, because the mockingbird sings beautifully. Its melodies captivate hearts, never causing harm to plants or seasons. It simply sings for us to enjoy. Killing such a bird is a sin, and causing a mockingbird to die due to narrow-minded, prejudiced thoughts is also a sin. In our lives, there are numerous mockingbirds in the world due to geographical, gender, professional, and interest-based differences, along with prevailing habits and existing biases everywhere. Just like bullied school friends, isolated colleagues at work, or kind-hearted individuals helping others, but being seen as opportunists. Somewhere, people from rural areas, small towns, and many in the LGBT community continually face judgmental eyes in this indifferent world, causing them to wither. In many families, wives must conform to certain expectations, while children have no right to question adults. Even you might have been hurt numerous times due to others' biases and narrow-mindedness. The classic novel To Kill a Mockingbird starts right from its title to convey a profound truth to readers. You never truly understand someone until you walk in their shoes. In the story, the main character and storyteller is a young girl named Scout, living with her brother Jem and their father Atticus. The author chose a child's perspective to emphasize that all the complexities in life need to begin changing through education. The highest form of education for all of us and our children is learning to respect differences. For adults, self-discipline primarily means managing one's own prejudices. One. Have you ever killed a mockingbird? An evil soul resides in that house. That's what the people in Maycomb Town say about the enigmatic figure, Radley. Radley's house remains shut all the time, while the townsfolk only close their doors during harsh weather or sickness. Radley never steps out, and all kids are terrified of him. Jem even described him as 6 feet tall, eating raw squirrels and cats, having scars on his face, yellow, decaying teeth, bulging eyes, and a drooling mouth. But the amusing part is, the kids had never actually met Radley, yet the prejudices of the adults around fueled their vivid imaginations. In that dull summer, the kids kept inventing various games to pass the time, trying to lure him outside by trespassing into Radley's yard multiple times. However, what they encountered there seemed like a fabricated tale. In front of Radley's house, the only path to school, the children discovered small gifts such as gum, medals, figurines left in the knothole of a nearby tree. One day, Miss Dill's house caught fire, and as Scout and Jem watched the townsfolk putting out the flames, they arrived home to find a mysterious blanket on Scout's shoulders. On another occasion, when the kids sneaked into the reclusive Radley's house and were spotted by Radley's brother, Jem fled in terror. Unfortunately, his pants got caught on a wire fence, leaving him with no option but to escape, leaving the pants behind. The next day, the torn pants were neatly repaired and folded at the tree's base. It was Radley who silently performed these warm gestures. No one knew that Radley, in his youth, committed a mistake and was confined to his house by his family for 10 years. Since then, he got accustomed to a solitary life, expressing himself through a shy smile instead of cold, bland words. Just because he didn't conform to societal norms, Radley was labeled as a recluse. Have you ever thought someone is reclusive? Have you ever been cold, irritable, resentful, or full of hatred due to the differences between yourself and others? A philosopher once said, "Most of us oppose prejudice, but everyone has prejudices." We often think we have no prejudice views toward others, believing that prejudices only lie in the minds and hearts of fools and evildoers. However, in reality, each of us, to some extent, has prejudices. Philosopher Socrates compared people to prisoners viewing the world within a cave, bodies bound, and the world only interpretable from the shadows cast in the cave. They believe in what they see until they step out of the cave and see the sun. Only then do they realize and see their initial biased thoughts. Hence, when faced with differences, conflicts, or when someone acts, thinks, and expresses things different from your views, remember that you are also living in a cave, and others are prisoners like you. Only when you realize that at any time there is a to kill a mockingbird mentality within you, can you truly examine your own mind? When not easily judging, you can recognize the narrowness in thinking and learn to respect differences. A misplaced thinker of classical German philosophy, Immanuel Kant, said, "I respect every independent soul, although in some cases I may not endorse." Understanding others is an act of compassion, and managing one's own prejudices is the primary lesson for every adult. Two, how to protect a mockingbird under the gun of prejudice. The small town of Maycomb was suddenly in an uproar due to a shocking raping. A white girl was allegedly abused by a black young man, and what escalated the situation further was that the lawyer defending the black man was a white attorney. That man was Atticus, the father of the main character Scout. The neighbors rushed to condemn him, feeling ashamed that he was standing up for the black man. Even his own daughter was furious at him. Why help a black man? But he calmly reminded his daughter not to use the word nigger to the black people. It was an ugly and malicious expression. In reality, Atticus knew that fighting in a place so deeply entrenched in discrimination, the chances of winning the case seemed slim. But he believed it was something he had to do to properly educate his children. It was his profound sense of conscience that made him not hesitate and try his best. "Even when the world tells me otherwise, I still want to live true to myself," he said. For him, there was only one thing that couldn't follow the crowd, and that was his conscience. Throughout the trial, Atticus faced mockery from racist people. The key instigator in the case was Ewell, the father of the allegedly harmed girl. Later, he assembled a group of white men to plan an attack on Tom in prison. Upon hearing the news, Atticus rushed to the jail, sitting alone outside to protect Tom. Faced with an imminent threat, he remained not only calm but also reassuring for his two worried children. His friends mocked his son, saying, "Your dad has sympathy for niggers." However, Atticus calmly told his children, "You may hear all sorts of awful things at school, but there's one thing I want you to do. Just hold your head high and your fists down. Regardless of what people say about you, don't get mad. Fight it out in your head. When the majority believes they're right and you're wrong, of course, they have the right to think that. They have the right to be completely respected. But before you can get along with others, you have to get along with yourself." I cannot fathom what Tom, the black man, gave to Atticus that was so precious that he would staunchly defend him at all costs. In truth, Tom didn't give Atticus anything of great value. He was a kind, humble man who would help the white Ewell family living nearby when they needed it. The eldest daughter of the Ewell family, 19-year-old Mayella, lived in seclusion due to her father's abuse and had little contact with the outside world. Consequently, when she met Tom, she fell for him. On one occasion, she used the excuse of asking Tom to help fix a door. Then she tried to kiss him, and Tom gently pushed her away. When she ran out, she encountered her drunken father. He physically assaulted Mayella and thought that she was disgracing their family's reputation by associating with a black man. Fearing shame if this story got out, he pressured his daughter to accuse Tom of raping and causing the injuries on her face. On the day of the trial, despite the discrepancies in her testimony and the clear truth that Tom with a disabled arm could not have caused Mayella's injuries, an all-white jury still found Tom guilty, driven by racial prejudice against black people. Atticus fought to the best of his ability, but he couldn't win. In the end, Tom lost faith in the justice system, tried to escape from prison, and was shot dead. It was a tragic ending, and when this novel was published, it faced many controversies and objections. Why couldn't Tom win the case? It doesn't simply depict that white people will always feel superior and discriminate against black people, but it emphasizes the painful reality that prejudice runs deep in this world, and breaking it is incredibly difficult. Atticus, standing alone, defended Tom against prejudice. This symbolizes the weak voice against societal biases. No matter how feeble, you still need to raise your voice, as Atticus told his daughter when she was outraged by the court's final decision. Someone on the jury recognized that Tom was wrongly accused, and that was a step forward. No matter how fragile the glimmer of hope may be, just like the ignorance buried in people's habitual thinking, we must keep fighting, protecting others from prejudice, and safeguarding ourselves from the biased thoughts of those around us. While Tom has passed away, it was Atticus's morality, courage, and integrity that made more and more white people support him and endear him to black people. Managing personal prejudice. And you'll realize that, to save yourself and other mockingbirds from prejudices, you must first learn to manage your own biases. No matter how chaotic the world outside becomes, you have to learn to turn a blind eye to others' prejudices against you. In this world, the less knowledgeable a person is, the more they tend to criticize others because their thinking has been rigid for so long that they cannot tolerate any form of difference, no matter how small. People with a higher level of awareness are more likely to be accepting of differences, and only by respecting those differences, opinions, choices, desires of others, can you have a steadfast heart that isn't influenced by the prejudices around you. Then your inner self will be as calm as a river, harmonizing all differences. You won't be controlled by others' words or actions, nor will someone else's prejudiced words make you angry, upset, or hurt. By shrugging off and disregarding someone's offense, you'll have more energy to focus on your own goals. As the philosopher Confucius said, "The gentleman understands tolerance for the ignorant, the wise understands tolerance for the foolish, the open-minded understands tolerance for the narrow-minded, the pure-hearted understands tolerance for the malicious." Therefore, remember that only by respecting and embracing differences can we thrive in this prejudiced world. Starting from education, changing the mindset. The second thing we need to do is to start with education. Psychologists have proven that prejudice is ingrained in our minds and is formed and influenced by family, relatives, schools, and our living environment. In the book, The Diamond Sutra, the author points out that in reality, the nature of a person, a thing, or a situation is often neutral or empty. Its intrinsic meaning is not fixed, but people often attach various characteristics to it. It's the subjective evaluation of a person that determines whether something is good or bad. Here's a story. Two white women boarded a taxi driven by an African American. The child asked her mother, "Mom, why does the driver have a different skin color from us?" The mother smiled and replied, "God created people with different colors to make the world diverse." The black driver, upon hearing this, was deeply moved. Upon reaching their destination, he adamantly refused to accept payment from the two women, emotionally saying that as a child, he had asked a similar question to his mother, but she said that people like them with black skin were inferior. If his mother had responded like hers, he might have had a different life today. This is the impact of education on individuals. It's a simple decision on how someone perceives situations. Broadly speaking, it will determine the trajectory of a person's life, just like Atticus's father in the story. He patiently educated his children, gradually eliminating the negative aspects seen and heard, and ultimately understanding that in this world, differences are nothing to fear. What's truly fearsome is the prejudices and arrogance in the human mindset. There's a famous saying in a triad, "Ignorance is not an obstacle to survival, but arrogance is." You must know that within every prejudiced thought, there might be a belief that I am superior to others, that white people are superior to black people, that city dwellers have the right to ridicule the accents of those in rural areas, or that the LGBT community is different. Is it the fault of others, or is it because you're just looking at them through a narrow window? Remember, only by respecting and embracing differences can we thrive in this prejudiced world. Reading a book is like a human breath. You must do it, even if you don't like it. Finally, to lower the gun, don't aim it at innocent mockingbirds. I implore you to heed Atticus's parental advice. Reading a book is like a human breath. You have to do it, even if you don't like it. To recognize prejudices and change ingrained mindsets, reading is the most effective method. Reading is a simple task, yet in this day and age, many people find it difficult to carry out and maintain. So, remember that if you can't change your background or life circumstances, if you can't change others, the only way to overcome the prejudices of our times is through reading. Philosopher Schopenhauer once said, "The obstacle to human progress isn't the unreality of things or a deficiency in human reasoning. It is the prejudices we've accumulated from the past." Reading this book, the most precious thing for all of us is accepting the truth that both you and I, to some extent, harbor prejudice. Both you and I have been, are, and will be mockingbirds, and also those who might point a gun at other mockingbirds. But now is the time for us to be courageous, to utilize our innate, original morality to protect mockingbirds. Read extensively, learn abundantly to broaden your perspective, to be ready to embrace differences with a peaceful soul. When your inner self is stretched, when your thoughts expand, the things and people that bother you will decrease. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who might benefit. Don't forget to reflect on this classic novel to draw your own insights and lessons. And don't forget to support Better Inside by hitting the like button, subscribing, and enabling notifications to watch the latest weekly videos. Once again, sincerely, thank you. I look forward to seeing you in the upcoming videos.